Welcome to Crimson Clovers, where we explore true crime stories from all over the world. Today, we're traveling to Japan to a case that shocked an entire nation and continues to haunt the world. But don't they all? Anyway, this is the story of Junko Furuta, a young life stolen in the most disgusting and cruelest way imaginable. So, it was November 25th, 1988 in Misato, Saitama Prefecture. Junko Furuta was just 17 years old. She was a bright high school student with dreams, a large group of friends, a future, and she was so kind, so hardworking, and she was so well liked by her classmates and teachers. Like everyone, genuinely loved her. She was basically a ray of sunshine, genuinely. Junko had recently gotten a part-time job to save money for her graduation trip. But on that cold November evening, everything changed. She was biking home from her job, and Junko then was ambushed by a young man named Hiroshi Miyano. Hiroshi, he had a reputation for being known for his violent temper and dangerous connections to the Yakuza. I think it was a gang or a really violent group. So that night he had one thing in mind: finding a target for them. Miyano, along with his friend Nobuharu Minato, had been prowling the streets, basically looking for someone to attack, when they saw Junko coming back from work, and they put their twisted plan into motion. Miyano went up to the bike, pretending to be a good person, but then knocked her off the bike. And then, to be an even more good person, he led her to a dark alley to see how her leg got twisted or whatever. What Junko didn't know was that Miyano had already planned to take her. He threatened her, saying that Yakuza would come after her family if she tried to run. Terrified, and no one was there, Junko was dragged to an abandoned house, a house that belonged to Minato's family. Once inside, her nightmare began. What happened to Junko Furuta inside that house is almost it's so crazy. Honestly, I don't even know how one could even have the guts to do that. Let alone for 44 days, because she was trapped there for 44 days. She was held captive, she was tortured, abused, everything, in the worst ways. So Miyano and his three friends, Minato, Joe Ogura, and Yasushi Watanabe, turned her into their plaything. Genuinely, she was a toy to them. They treated her as suffering a game, laughing as they did such bad things that caused her such immense pain, but they genuinely did not care. They thought it was just a game. So yeah, why not just damage the girl? Yeah, sure. They invited other friends over, saying how they beat her up and they abused her, basically laughing about it and boasting about it. And reports suggest that over 100 men, participated in her abuse, each act more brutal than the last. And I just want to highlight that it says 100 men. Yeah, not any other gender. Men. I'm not saying this isn't gender inequality, but genuinely men. I can't say anything else. Anyway, Junko was beaten relentlessly. They shattered her bones, burned her with cigarettes and lighters, and poured hot wax all over her body. And they even forced her to drink her own urine. A heck. And they starved her, leaving her so malnourished that she was unable to move. Imagine a girl just sitting there on the ground, looking so beat up, so out of shape, so malnourished. Just imagine that. I mean, don't, but do. And despite everything, she held on. The poor girl, she wanted to live. She fought to live. One time, in a desperate way to manage to escape, Junko managed to grab a phone when she was left alone. She dialed the police. But before she could even let out a word, Miyano caught her, and as punishment, her torture escalated, and the boys set her legs on fire, smashed her fingers with a hammer, and forced her to sleep outside on the balcony when it was winter. Like, it was freezing cold, snow everywhere, and they let her sleep outside on the balcony. Like, what kind of mentally retarded is that? Like, I don't really know. Anyway, even when her body was failing, she begged for them to end it quickly. But, they refused. By the end of the 44 days, she was so weak that she could not lift herself off from the floor. And she had stopped crying, she stopped screaming, she stopped resisting. She just let them do whatever they wanted to her. Like, she was literally a play toy for them. Anyway. Unfortunately, on January 4th, 1989, after a brutal beating, Junko finally let go, and she was only 17 years old. Miyano and his friends panicked, They had taken things too far and they needed to get rid of the evidence. So in a final cruel act, they stuffed Junko's lifeless body into a large oil drum and filled it with concrete and dumped it at a construction site. They believed that would just erase her existence off the face of the earth. But, fate had other plans. A few weeks later, police arrested Miyano in connection to another assault case. During questioning, one officer mentioned the missing girl, Junko Furuta. Thinking that the police knew everything, Miyano cracked. Bro just confessed because he thought they knew everything. That's why I'm saying he's retarded. What the police uncovered sent shock waves through Japan. Junko's body, fortunately, was retrieved, but the damage was beyond comprehension. Her autopsy revealed that she had endured some of the worst abuse ever recorded. Even the investigators wept when they saw. Her parents, who had spent weeks searching for their daughter, were now left with the unbearable truth. The public demanded justice, but what they got, of course, just wasn't enough. Because the perpetrators were minors. The people who did the bad stuff, they were minors. They received shockingly light sentences. Miyano, the ringleader, was just sentenced to 20 years, which isn't bad. But put that into perspective, when he gets out, he'll be in his oh yeah, maybe wait, he already got out. But he got out in his late 30s, so that isn't good, honestly, because he has the ability to do such bad stuff. But anyway, the others received even less, and some served only a few years before walking free. I'm talking about one of the hundreds, Yeah, anyway, despite the horror of their crimes, Japan's juvenile justice system protected them. Their names were, at first they were hidden, but then journalists leaked them, which is honestly as they should, because they need to own up, believing, the world had a right to know, which they do. As for Junko's family, no amount of punishment could bring back their daughter. Her parents were left broken, and not just her loss, but the fact that there were people who stole their daughter's life would just walk normally after a few years. They just, of course, no one would like that idea. I'm just getting pissed off by hearing about it, but gosh, I cannot imagine their pain. Junko Furuta's story isn't just a tale of horror. It's a reminder of how fragile justice can be. Her case changed laws in Japan, and it sparked debates on juvenile crime and victim protection. But for many, it wasn't enough. Today, her name lives on not as a victim, but as a symbol of innocence lost. And a world that must never look away from darkness lurking within it. This has been yet another episode of Crimson Clovers. Thank you for listening and thank you for supporting. Lock your doors and stay safe, and always lock your doors. Bye.